For one night only, Beatlemania returns to Leicester Square for the world premiere of the Beatles' 8 days a week, the touring years. What do the Beatles mean to you?
Well, to me, they mean artistic integrity. They lived their lives that way. The fact that they didn't go on forever. They reached a point where as artists they wanted to grow and evolve, and they made that commitment, walked away from millions and millions of dollars, and yet they left us with music and work that just carries so much integrity with it.
It's the fact that every generation kind of finds them anew. My son is 8, and he talks about John, Paul, George, and Ringo like he knows them, like they're his friends. He knows all the words to the songs. He doesn't know this story, but he has a familiarity with them just because of the music. And there's something about the music that really tipped over in terms of the rest of the world at that time. No other songs did what they did continuously, like every 3 months a new single, and it's something that every child knew.
There's no question in my mind that I saw 4 people who are totally intellectually curious, cared about the world, made big decisions on segregation and not playing in segregated places, changed the history of the country. And it wasn't just the surge that you see in this movie of the girls who saw them and felt, he's singing to me. He's singing to me. And it was basically the way they acted. They had panache, they had professionalism, and for guys who were 20 to 23 years old, they were remarkably intellectual.
Right time, right place, right people, right connection between 4 guys who wanted to say something. And it's, it can't be, it can never happen again.
To me, in the century, they speak to, and maybe more than the century, speak to the most unique kind of genius, because they're individual geniuses that became one, and because they all had an equal vote on all of the artistic endeavors that they did during this period. And it's just so unusual that I don't think there's no such group of people that have ever been or done that before.
Growing up, I was listening to the Beatles my whole life. My mum and dad were fans, and they had the records. I've always listened to them. I have an interesting difference experience because my father worked for Paul for 30 years at his office doing business. So, they've been in and out of my life completely for. So I don't know. To me, they're everything.
The Beatles, I guess the meaning has changed and broadened over time and over their career, because I think in the beginning they meant expansion and an introduction to something that was new and exciting and different, and it meant possibilities. Over time, it's meant growth and maturing and experimentation and the possibility of remaining vital in a culture that was continually changing.
They're a huge part of my family, I suppose. My father having signed them and produced all their records, and now me working on them is kind of strange, I think. So there's that side, but just as a music fan, they're hugely inspiring.
What I find fascinating is the longevity that never ends. My kids love them, and his kids are younger than my kids by quite a few years, and they love them. It's like every generation, just how they resonate for some reason with everybody.
They're one of the great artistic voices of their generation, and frankly, as our movie states, like Mozart and Schubert and Beethoven and others, they'll be remembered forever because they're not remembered today because they were a pop sensation 50 years ago. There were a lot of pop sensations. They're remembered today because you can't go out for more than about an hour in public without hearing a Beatles song, and it's because the music's great.
Beatles music being in the world makes the world a better place.